Yo, what's up everybody? PBM or Polar Bear Mike here. It's time for that time, you know, the patch notes review. I've seen a lot of people trying to mess with my thunder on YouTube and trying to put out some patch note reviews. Just remember that this is the premium content. This is the good shit. This is the highest quality patch note review you're ever gonna get, so stay loyal. Just wanted to say that really quick. And with that being said, let's get into the patch notes. So first off, skins. You know how I do skins. This dude is on his Loktar Ogar shit, straight out of World of Warcraft, clearly. Pretty cool Raijin skin. This guy reminds me of zombies from COD in the old days, you know. You got an Nami skin. I mean, this is just spooky right here. This Cupid skin, I mean, it's October. This is badass. And then there's Hachiman Mastery skins. Boom, got it out of the way. Raijin Dance, that's pretty cool too. Odyssey, we have a Tina announcer pack, a bunch of stuff like that. Buy the skins, give them money, support the game. That's great. You know, Halloween, all this stuff, really spooky right here. You get the Cupid and the Thanatos skin. You should buy this or else. And then here's the actual good shit. Items and bug fixes. Remove lifesteal, doesn't really matter. Bug fixes, Morgan, this actually does matter. Fixed an issue where using quick/instant cast could result in the Morgan switching to the incorrect target. So for those of you who have played Morgan or watch people play Morgan on stream or see people tweet about it or whatever, you'll notice that a common complaint is that people will pre-select a god, and then when they press forward, they will transform into a god that isn't the one they pre-selected. And that had to do with, like, if you were on instant cast and you pressed 4 while you were moving your mouse or something, it would reselect a different target as if you were selecting them when all you really wanted to do was, like, transform into who you chose. So apparently that will no longer happen. So hopefully that makes Morgan a bit better to play and a little bit smoother. Here are the actual item and balance changes. First up, Armor Cloak. This is the tier 2 of Hide of the Urchin. 5 down on each prop. This is actually a really good nerf. Most people didn't realize that the tier 2 of Urchin is actually like one of if not the most cost-efficient defense items in the game. I think for 1,550 gold, you were getting like 30 of each prot, as it was here, obviously. So you were getting 60 prots for 1,500 gold, and then on top of that, you were getting a little bit of health and mana. I think it was like over 100 health and mana each. So that's just completely insane. So good nerf on that. And then obviously the Hide of the Urchin nerf. Everybody knew this was coming. You've seen, if you've been paying attention to the EU SPL and NA SPL, you'll see in EU games, like, sometimes all 5 people on a single team will have a Hide of the Urchin. In NA, it's a little bit less common, but obviously it's still a very prevalent item. So in general, Hide of the Urchin has been overbought, it's been a little overstated. So they reduced the efficiency at the front end of it by increasing its cost by 100 gold. And then the same treatment that the Armored Cloak got, 5 of each protections go down. So overall, when you had this item fully stacked, I believe it would be 70 of each protection. That will now be 65 of each protection, right? Because you get... Or is it just 60? I don't even know, but it's something like that, right? I think maybe it was 65 before, and now it'll be 60. I think that's correct. But either way, you get the deal, right? When it's stacked, it'll still be very good. You only lose 5 of each prot. It's not the end of the world. And then it's a little bit more costly. You might see people pick this up less now in damaging rolls. I'd say, obviously, I would assume most of you who watch me would care more about the support aspect of it. But from a support point of view, I don't think this matters that much. I was never really that high on Hide of the Urchin to begin with. As far as it pertained to supports, I thought that there were better items. Now I probably feel a little bit more strongly towards that. You probably don't pick this up as much. I would say the scenarios where you pick this up would only be like if you get really, really far ahead, and then even then, I mean, you're spending an extra 300 gold to buy this over buying something like Jade Emperor's Crown, so you're losing... You know, you're losing a lot of ward money if you do that. You're losing, you know, gold towards your next item, so on. So, I don't think Hide of the Urchin is great. I think it's still situational, and then I'm not really sure about carry rolls. I just figured I'd spend a little bit more time on that since it's been a hot topic lately. Pressure, increase the attack speed from 15 to 20%. Basically, it's this weird little hybrid item where you want to build it on people who are both auto-attacking and weaving in abilities. So you think of Obviously, ability-based hunters, I think one of the first gods that come to people's mind with Crusher would be a god like Uller, a god like Neith, maybe even Medusa, stuff like that. This item is in a weird spot where if you want to build for auto-attacking, it's better to go like the Executioner and then Kin Size route. And if you want to build for abilities, it's better off to go like that Brawler's Beatstick, Jotun's Wrath, and Titan's Bane route with Heartseeker as well thrown in there. What I'm interested to see with this is, obviously it makes it stronger. I wonder if you might see Assassins build like this hybrid kind of attacks, like auto-attack ability-based stuff. Like, for example, Stone-Cutting Sword. A lot of people think of that as an auto-attack item, but it has 50 power and 10% movement speed, which is really good. So say you went like Stone-Cutting Sword into Crusher into Titan's Bane or something, right? You have a ton of pen, you're reducing their procs, and you can like weave in abilities in and out, and you have a lot of flat pen, and you're, you know, it could just be like an interesting build, so I want to see people mess with this item. For the most part, it probably doesn't get picked up too much more. I don't know if you see ADCs start picking it up, maybe you do. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's just a cool adjustment because it hasn't been picked up, and I think it's a really fun item, so hopefully it gets involved and builds more. Soul Reaver, basically just decreasing the cost 200 gold. This item has been power creeped by a lot of the other mage items this season. I mean, Spear of Desolation, basically got a huge buff going into the season. Obshard is very good. Spear of the Magus got buffed. Divine Ruin basically got buffed. Ethereal Staff at the start of the season was doing Soul Reaver's job way better than Soul Reaver. I think there's just been too many good mage items. Obviously, people still go like the Book of Thoth and stuff like that. And especially with people building a defense item, there just hasn't been room for Soul Reaver in people's builds, and it was a little too expensive. This puts it in line with Chronos Pendant, so Chronos Pendant was recently adjusted to be 2750 as well. So you have gods who are like more burst-oriented, who would buy the Soul Reaver, and gods who are more cooldown-oriented, maybe like a healer that will build the Chronos Pendant. So now they're like pretty even. You don't have one like type of mage have their build cost more than the other, which I think is good. Overall, just a small change. I don't think it makes it OP or anything crazy like that. Alquang, so this is kind of an interesting direction. Alquang's kind of been like a ranked meme and stuff because every like noob wants him banned and ranked, and like, don't get offended when I say that, but Alquang hasn't been that good for like pretty much the entire season. He maybe has like a couple games here and there he gets played, but for the most part he's been underwhelming. And I think the point that Pon made on the Patch Notes show and said right here is Pauline Amon. Alquang for the most part was so reliant on that item to one-shot people and to get them into execute threshold that he felt a little bit like if the designers wanted to buff him and he also had Pauline Amon, he would just do way too much and it would become OP. You would notice that in previous seasons, right? Like when Alquang got buffed in Season 2 Fall, he ended up becoming like one of the most dominant gods, and he was one-shotting people, the good old Dare to Care clip on Mace to the Face for people who remember that. And then obviously in Season 3 he was pretty prevalent, so he got nerfed, and now he's never really been able to get back to that point, so they've reduced, or not reduced, they've removed that Wildstorm would affect, or would proc off Pauline Amon, so Poly won't do that thing. You can still auto-attack to get the Poly, obviously, but it's going to put his abilities in a better spot because his damage is going to go up a little bit on both his Dragon Claw and his Wildstorm, which are his two main abilities, and it's just going to take away the Poly effect. For right now, Alquang is a little bit weaker, but going forward, this will help them balance the god in a way that doesn't make him cheesy and frustrating to play with, so I think that's good. Wheelix, this one has everybody fired up. I do not understand this change at all. Basically, the point of this is they thought Feather Step was too good in the early game, so they reduced it by a lot. So this is 20 damage at the base. Keep in mind that Feather Step also gets a multiplier based off of your auto attack chain. So not only is it 20 on the base, but you have to take the multiplier and add that up. So, I mean, this ends up being, I think it's more like 30 damage or whatever it ends up being after you proc your auto attacks. So this is a huge damage nerf in the early game. This hurts your clear, it hurts your ability to fight, it hurts your ability to gank, and then all she gets back is 10% scaling from Moonlight Charge. What I don't understand is, unless her casual win rates were really high, this god was barely even seen play in the SPL. I mean, maybe a few games here and there. I think we played it a couple times, but it wasn't like she was crazy broken. And right now, in the solo and jungle meta, you're seeing a lot of early level 1 pressure. You're seeing stuff like Osiris, Erlang, Shen, stuff like that, just so you're able to box at level 1. And people aren't even picking a Wheelix. Like, she's not even one of the strongest jungle gods for level 1, and that's what they're nerfing here, and they thought was too OP. She's really good at level 1, but, you know, she's not Osiris, she's not Erlang, she's not all those other gods, so I just don't understand why the change happened now. I can understand if they thought the early game was a little frustrating, but I think that you could have stopped this nerf at around rank 2 or rank 3, but the fact that her damage is straight up nerfed until the final rank of her ability, even right here, this is like a 10 damage difference with the multiplier again. It just seems a little bit questionable to me. Overall, I don't think it's too big of a deal. Once you get to level 9, if you're maxing your feather step and you get this level 9 point, she's straight up better, right? She's straight up stronger because she just has 10% more scaling on her 3. So I think people are overreacting a little bit. I don't agree with her getting changed at all, but I don't think she's dead. She's not screwed or anything like that. You just get to level 9 and she has a very, very good mid-game, especially if you go blink and you're comboing people. So that's just kind of my 10 cents on it. Colin, this has been one of the better gods recently, ever since his release. He's been played a lot. I've seen him in a lot of casuals and everything. So as you can see, they kind of adjusted his whole kit a little bit. The whole point of this is to adjust the way he generates rage and the way that works. So the first change is his passive: decrease the base shield health from 40 to 20 and increase the shield health per level from 23 to 24. So when Colin would transform and get that 85 rage and then go into his berserk form, he would get a health shield, and these are the values. So late game, when you're level 20, you get 1 more health per level, so that, you know, 1 times 20 is 20, and it got reduced by 20. So it's the exact same in the late game. The difference is in the early game, when you're level 2, right? So if you're level 2, you get this bonus times 2, so you would get 46 health. On top of the 40, you would get an 86 health shield at level 2 just for transforming. This would make Colin pretty much near impossible to win a fight against at level 2 in the laning phase, and he would just pretty much auto-win matchups if he got into his berserk form. So not only will his berserk form be a little bit weaker in the early game, they also changed his rage mechanics, which are the amount of rage he gets for hitting minions. It goes down by 1, and then the amount of rage he gets for hitting gods goes up by 2. So basically, it's just kind of a rage mechanic change where in the middle of a fight, if you didn't get to stack your rage beforehand, you have a higher chance of actually getting into that rage form, which is a good thing. And then in the early game, you don't transform as much just for PvEing and hitting creep. So overall, I like these Colin changes a lot, and I hope that, you know, they successfully adjusted what needed to be nerfed about Colin, but this should put him in a much better spot. Erlang Shen, 72 transformations, decreased Mink form base damage from 90 to 330 to 70 to 310. So 20 damage nerf at all ranks, and then decrease the Mink attack speed and haste buff from 5 seconds to 4 seconds, so the overall duration of his auto attack steroid goes down by 1 second, and his damage goes down. This does hurt him a good bit. I don't think it kills him by any means, holy crap. By any means, but certainly makes him a little bit weaker. Erlang, like I mentioned before, was very good at level 1, and just like in the early game in general, part of it was because of this. You could just out-trade people with Death's Toll, and with your Mink form, you would just attack faster, and your dog and your Death's Toll would just heal up so much. So I think overall a good change to Erlang. He's seen a lot of nerfs over the past year or so, and I do wonder how many more he can take. He seems to keep creeping back into competitive play and high-level ranked play, but his kit is slowly getting really, really nerfed, so definitely good to keep an eye on Erlang. Hachiman, this is the new hunter. They're just going to adjust him a little bit. Increase base movement speed from 360 to 365, just a bit of a quality of life change. Eagle Eye, ammo increased from 333,444. Basically, all this means is that you get your 4th arrow at 1 rank earlier, so at rank 3 instead of rank 4, but because of that, you're going to get your bonus damage a rank later. So instead of getting this bonus damage up front, it'll all be delayed 1 rank, basically, I think, is what the overall goal was, right? Because 25, 20... Yeah, okay, I think so. Because this is... I don't know, this is a confusing fucking ability. Basically, he gets the ammo 1 earlier, and he gets his damage 1 rank later, whatever. I'm not pronouncing this. This is his dash. Cooldown is just a static 16 seconds now. Basically a 2-second buff throughout most of the game, so good quality of life change. And then mounted archery, they basically just fixed his damage numbers so that it didn't look whack. So they removed 5 damage from his rank 2 alt just to make it, you know, 55 damage between all ranks, whatever. Not a big deal. So just little tweaks to Hachiman, nothing crazy. Izanami, these are actually huge changes. So anyone who has played Izanami or knows why Izanami stopped getting played, it was literally because of these 2 abilities right here. Her clear is by far the best in the game. I mean, she just insta-clears waves, which is obviously very valuable. She has pretty good damage. She has a really good steroid on her 1. It was mainly just her jump took 2, or her fade away, whatever you want to call it, a leap, a jump, dash, whatever people call it. It just took too long to cast. That casting time got cut by more than half, or almost more than half, got cut by, you know, 0.3 seconds, so she'll pretty much leap away instantly almost. And then Dark Portal reduced the warm-up time from 0.85 to 0.6, so that means it'll cast quicker, and the post-fire times mean not only will it cast quicker, but once you actually cast it, you'll be able to auto-attack and do other abilities quicker, so really big quality of life changes for Izanami. Expect her to get played a lot more in your casual and ranked games. Reijin, this is probably the most controversial changes of the entire patch. Basically, Reijin was super shit at the start of the season. He was really, really bad, probably one of, if not the worst mage in the entire game, because his old kit in Season 3 was really bloated. They basically gutted it, and what they did was they basically reworked him. They changed the way his 2 works. It's no longer a burst ability, it's a dot. They made his 1 get piercing, so instead of stopping on the first target, you can no longer body block it. It'll go through everybody. That's a huge, huge change. And then to come back with that, they changed his ult a little bit. They gave you more time in it, and they gave you more movement speed. And then on his 3, they took away the instant teleport and the immunity frames, and they made it have a channel time. So all of that was a net positive for Rajan. They buffed his damage a little bit. They buffed his kit and the way it works, and he got a little bit of play. So now the only things that were really holding him back was that he had these weird like quality of life things. For example, you could interrupt his dash pretty easily and he's standing still. Like, you could reactionarily, if you see a Raijin start jumping away, like, as soon as he channels it, you could, like, Ares chain him or Sobek pluck or something and cancel it and then, you know, fling him the other way or cripple him. And it was really easy to do that off reaction. So now they've just done all these changes where they decrease the damage a little bit on Percussive Storm, but now it's bigger, so it's easier to hit. So it's a little bit less damage, but they're more guaranteed damage. Then Raiju increased the projectile speed by about 20%, so his 2 travels way faster, which means it'll be way, way, way easier to hit. And it wasn't like that hard to hit already. And then Thunder Crash players will now be able to move during the warm-up. This means if you're like a Thor and you throw out your hammer, you can juke around before you catch it. It'll be similar to that. I don't know if it'll be that long of a thing where you can wait, but I mean, that's obviously a huge change that helps him a lot. And then Taiko Drums, they basically fixed the bug where if you played Raijin and you spammed your ult, sometimes you would, you know, not get your last shot or anything, or you would just, you know, get cheated out of a couple shots because you were spamming it. Basically, Raijin has been really good this split, and they buffed him even more, and they only took away a little bit of damage. Like, overall, they took away, what is this, a total of 20 damage, right? Because it's 5 for the first hit, 5 for the second, and then 10 because it's a double shot on the last one. So, 20 less damage, but it's easier to hit. You can juke and not get interrupted as easily, and they fixed a bug on him. So overall, Rajan just got like mega buffed basically, and now he's probably way too strong. So that's basically my take on everything. Those are the patch notes for 4.19. Make sure to test them out on the PTS if you want, otherwise they will be available next Tuesday on PC. SPL is wrapping up, I think all that other good stuff. For those of you who have been watching my stream, I'm going to keep trying to get that content to be a little bit better, improve my FPS and all that other good stuff. So I'll keep rolling out updates, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.